Testing, testing, testing microphone. Testing, testing, testing microphone. All right, everyone, welcome to WDCR Week 6. This week we are at the Ohio course. It's the Chicane layout. This will be a rolling start, 3 classes for 30 minutes. Of course, we have our Mustangs, which you see here up in the front. Our Miatas, with quite a good turnout this week. We have about 23 racers, so we have quite a bit of Miatas as usual. Looks like we're going to have 2, 4, 6, 7 Mustangs, and we have 4 Volkswagens. So that will be our race group this week. It's the TDI Cup VW Jetta Turbo Diesel for those Volkswagens. And the Mustang is our big bore car. This track will be the home for the 2016, well, it was the home for the 2016 SCCA runoffs. And we're doing something new for the league this week. We will be doing a hard charger award, which goes to the racer who makes up the most positions in the race. We also have a move of the week award, which we're still sort of sorting this one out. If you'd like to post some comments on the YouTube channel of what you like a move of the week should be, but I imagine it'll be one of those like great passes or something that really demonstrates a great driver's ability. So again, today we're doing a rolling start. So some of these guys were a little slow to start, but it doesn't really matter because they're going to follow the pace car around for a lap. It's going to warm their car up, warm their brakes up, and we'll go as we get close to the start-finish line. So we're not doing a full lap. It's sort of a partial rolling start, but we're already green flag, and here we go. The Mustangs and the big bores. So, this week, I have a new microphone. I have a real microphone. This is good, and it's probably not good. So the good news is, hopefully my sound quality is better. If you are watching this on YouTube, please give me some comments in the YouTube feed if my messages sound better. If you can hear me clear, If there's any issue with the audio, if we're getting any echo or reverb or anything that's strange, let me know as soon as you can. There's always the possibility I can switch back to my old mic mid-race. That should be fun, but I can do it. The downside of this new microphone is you can literally hear everything. So I've tried to make the house as quiet as possible, but anything can happen. I also don't have a good kill button anymore. I can mute the microphone, but if I have a quick cough or something like that, I may not catch it in time. So I apologize, but if you think the sound quality is better, please let me know. Please let me know. It's probably still within the return window if it's not. So, enough chatting. What are we looking at here? As we come around to our start-finish line, out in front we have Eric Jones. He's that orange car up there, number 51. Right behind him is Greg Obadia in the number 66 Mustang. We have Mike Kelly in the number 56. Forrest Landry in the number 4. Gary Schenk in the number 25. And Francois Brou in the number 69. I also have a little bit less up here on the screen this week. I kept the track map. But basically, we're running as minimalistic as possible. Let me know if you prefer this layout, or if you'd rather I put up more information on the screen, because I can do that. Some people like a cleaner look, some people like, you know, data. So I'll let you guys decide. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, you can live chat, which I don't see anybody doing, but I encourage you to do that. In 7th place, we have Travis Trussell in the 140. James Saffel in the 48. Kenneth Hoozle in the number 21 Miata, who is flying on this course. He's passing our VWs. He's now moved up to 8th place. See Dave Fitzgerald here in 10th, right behind James Saffel. Paul Darling in the 155 car is our 2nd place Miata. So, a bit of a gap widening between the two, and it's always hard when you have non-class cars in between, because you're not competing against those guys, but you have to get around them. So it always presents a challenge, and usually when you have those non-class cars, it produces a wider gap between the class cars, because the car behind, you know, you can't drive exactly the same. Now, these Volkswagens and these Miatas aren't that far apart performance-wise. I'm sure they handle and drive very differently, but as you can see, it's not like the Mustangs that are just blown away at the front of the race. So that could make it a little easier. It could make it more challenging. It depends on the situation and what's going on. Here's Brian Carwan in the number 27. Louis Alessi is the back of the pack for the Volkswagens in number 43. Ray Phillips in the 55 car. Here's Jeff Jacobs in the 38. Ido Waxman in the 6. I think it's the first week for Ido. I'm probably saying that wrong, but maybe I'll just call you Waxman. Zach Rubin in the number 7. Currently in 17th overall. Mark Wood in the number 41. Carter Whedon in the number 22. Don Manning, number 92, currently the back of the pack for the Mustangs. Dennis Barrett in the number 91, and Dave Graver in the number 12, who is coming out of the pits, it looks like. So maybe we had a little bit of an accident, and he's getting back on track. But here we have Greg Obadiah chasing Eric Jones. I hate to say it, folks, there are a lot of close races right now. I will try to jump around to the ones that I can. I will also say that I do know last week I missed a crash right in front of my face. As I told you last week, I'm using new data and new overlays, and I had one on a separate screen, and so I was turning to look at that screen, and that's what was happening. I was looking at the screen to figure out what's going on in the race, and I missed a crash. So, and here we have Forrest Landry making a strong pass on Greg. Came out of the prior turn just that much faster and just blew past him. Looks like our Mustangs are coming up on our first lap car, Oh, but Greg takes it back. He said he's not going to give that position up easy. As you can see, we're coming up on our first lap car. That would be Dave Graver, who, as we saw, had to pit, was coming out of the pits. I don't think these Mustangs are going to have any problem getting around a Miata, so it should be interesting. James and Dave having a good little race back here for second and third place in the Volkswagen group. Ken's still up here. He's still got 2 Volkswagens between him and Paul. So right now he's kind of running away with it. Looks like he's got about a 3-second lead on Paul, who's allowed Brian to catch up to him and is still trying to figure out how to get past these Volkswagens. He's going to make a move here, and I think James is backing out of that a little bit. No, he's not just going to give it up, but it looks like Paul's going to have this one. Looking up at the front, Eric running pretty strong, about a 1.5 seconds in front of Greg, which isn't a whole lot, but Forrest is still right there. He's not giving up any room either. A little bit of a gap between them and Gary, but not much. It's about a 5-second difference between the front and 4th place, so it's still a pretty close race. Michael Whedon saying he'd like to see the rest of the field scroll. I agree with you, Michael. And I will pull that up. I will probably pull it up. There it is. There's our field scroll. I'm a data kind of guy. I like to have the data on the screen. I think people appreciate that. And plus, if I'm not watching somebody, like Carter right there, number 19, or, well, 19th place, number 22, you can kind of keep track. So as we go around the track right now, it's still very close to the front of this Mustang pack. We got 51, 66, and number 4, all right in a row. 56 and 25 are right on top of each other. That's Gary and Mike, so they're battling it out for 4th place. Mike's still holding on to it. As I look farther back, number 12, you are the lap car. So that's what I thought. So you're David. No offense, David. I'm just trying to keep track of what's going on. So 140's in front now, and I think that's Travis. So Travis still pulling in behind the Mustangs, and Ken unable to pass him. So it should be interesting to see how that winds out. But definitely creating some space between Travis and Dave. Now there are 3 cars, Ken, Francois, and Paul. So definitely spreading out in that field. I see Carter's now in 18th place, so he was able to pass Mark. If I look at the lap times that we've got going here, our top 3 Mustangs are pulling 136s. So they're all pulling very similar lap times, all within several thousand, no, hundreds of a second of each other. So very close race. Mike Whedon, since you're chatting with me, how's my voice coming across? Does it sound good? Do you like the mic better? Are we having any audio issues? Does everything sound good? Especially with this new microphone, I don't really have any way to check. I used to turn on my phone and kind of check that way and see what I could hear. But anything I do makes noise, so I'm trying to be cognizant of that. In fact, I have my Starbucks here. I'm going to mute real quick, take a drink from that. Yes, folks, it's 8:46 and I'm drinking Starbucks. That's what 5 years in the Army will do for you. Make you completely immune to caffeine. So as we come around the track, still Eric, Greg, and Forrest out in front. I think this currently is our most exciting race. There's definitely action going on throughout the pack, but it is very mixed. It's a lot of Miata, Volkswagen, Miata, Volkswagen, Miata, Volkswagen racing going on. So I do see that Carter is still being chased by Mark Wood. So these guys are definitely battling it out back here. Both of them trying to make up some time and catch up. If again, as I look at the lap times as I was talking about before, we definitely had the Mustangs all very close. As a matter of fact, Eric Jones still ran a 136.9, which is what he did in the previous lap, but Greg did a 136.2 and Force did a 136.4, so they are definitely closing the gap here. They are not going to let Eric run away with this, as much as he would probably like that to happen. See our leader out in front there. Audio is great. Great. Hopefully I sound better. Hopefully you're getting a little bit more inflection. I will say I went to the doctor today and I do have a sinus infection. But I can pull out the energy for 30 minutes. I promise. Yeah, I think a big problem before I had when I listened to the playback is with that sort of headset microphone I was using. I don't feel like you really got the energy that I was trying to convey. Hopefully now you're hearing a little bit better, a little bit more inflection. But I'm glad that everything is working out. We definitely have some Volkswagen racing going on back here. You see Dave Fitzgerald. I believe that's him in the double bubble. No, that's James Saffel. So him and Lewis battling it out here for 3rd and 4th place. Dave just in front of them by about 2.5 seconds. In his Pabst Blue Ribbon car. Very classy. I remember when Pabst Blue Ribbon was kind of a down-home Southern beer, or a beer you drank when you were broke, and then apparently it turned into some sort of hipster beer that's now really popular, so go figure. I think it's still cheap, though. We'll go and watch our Mustang leaders here. Nice look at Greg making the pass on Eric, and he is going to get out in front. Eric not too happy about that. I think he had hit the brakes there. But Greg made the pass and is now out in front. Let's see if he can hold it. We have about 11 laps to go. Currently our leaders are not quite halfway through with this lap, so they're basically on the other side from the checker. Except my big map is not updating like it should, because why would it? But I think the little map on the screen is fairly accurate. It's quite possible I have somehow pushed my PC beyond its limits. But if the video is smooth and the audio is good, that's all that really matters. Greg pulling his lead up a little bit. As we look here for 3rd and 4th and 5th with the Miatas, you could see Ray Phillips pulling ahead of Jeff Jacobs. And Ida Waxman trying to get around him as well. Looks like Jeff is a member of the Philadelphia region. Or he just likes it. Oh! There we go. Somebody who couldn't maintain control. I think that was... just said their name and I can't remember who it was. We got Paul, we got Ido, and we got Jeff. So... your guess is as good as mine, but these guys are still, you're looking at 3rd place right now, 4th place, and 5th place, who have spread out a little bit more. I'm going to go back to a regular chase camera, because this might be making some new car sick. And here we have Eric Jones, who's been passed by Forrest. Eric's pulled a much slower time in that lap, a 1:39. Well, as we cross the start-finish line, it just updated. So he is a no, went back and told me he's 1:39 again. So 1:39.1. Whereas the other two are running 1:37 and 1:38. So everybody a little bit slower on the last lap. but, you know, in Eric's case, quite a bit slower, like 3 seconds off his pace. And that would be why he's got 2 cars out in front of him. He did lead for 8 laps, but now Greg has led for 1 full lap. And I really wish my map was working. I'm going to have to use this tiny map on my screen. Looks like we are coming up on the start-finish line again. So this would be Greg leading for his 2nd lap. We have 10 to go. I feel like I said 11 to go a while ago, but now it definitely says 10 to go. Travis doing a little tire squeal there. Now he's doing some agricultural driving. I don't know what's going on, Travis. You're leading your group. Maybe let the brakes cool down a little bit. But he is still flying. Running about 139.8. But so is Dave Fitzgerald. And Lewis and James are not far behind him with a 140. So this could still be anybody's race. I mean, we've got about a 4-second gap, but with 10 laps, you know, if Travis can't at least maintain the pace, because he's kind of ice skating on these tires a little bit, then he's going to have a problem, because I think he's going to provide opportunity for the other guys to catch up to him. Dave just passing Francois, who is sitting in the grass. That is not the recommended racing line. Probably want to stay on the paved part of the track. So as we see here, as we go down, Forrest Landry now 2 seconds behind Greg. Greg just blowing it out of the water right now. Back to running 136. In fact, running 136.3. His fastest lap of 136.2. Forrest 136.7 in the previous lap, which also will be his fastest lap. Eric Jones still running a 138. So Greg has found his legs and he is using them. We have Mike Kelly and Gary still racing it out. They are about 12 seconds off the leader. See them cross the start-finish line right now. Running about 138 and a 139. Not horrible times, but not going to catch the guys running 136 up front. Kenneth is just enjoying his day. He is out in front. He's got a 6-second lead on Paul. And he is just thinking of how beautiful this track is and how nice of a day it is in Ohio, where I'm sure it's actually probably something like 30 degrees and freezing, but not in iRacing where it's always 70-something and sunny. Travis Trussell just going around the track, keeping his lead as well. You can see Paul right there on his bumper, who I'm sure would love to get around Travis and try to catch Kenneth. But Kenneth, again, still has quite a lead. And this is where people who own low horsepower cars get extremely frustrated. Because as you can tell, Paul definitely had more speed coming out of that corner. But I think those VWs have a little bit more horsepower. And it was hard for Paul to get the pass. But he did get the pass. And now he's got a clear track all the way to Kenneth. Now we look at Dave, who is about 5 seconds behind Travis. So, again, not insurmountable. Our Volkswagens are packed up again. So we actually have Travis in first, Dave in second, Louis Alessi in third, and James Saffel in fourth. 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th overall for these guys. And I know I didn't say it, so I'm going to say it now, but I am your announcer tonight, Michael Root. I am a racer of the Washington, D.C. region. But in my spare time, I get peer pressured by Dave Fitzgerald to do announcing for everybody. Actually, folks, I really do enjoy it. But Dave does kind of lay on the peer pressure too, so it's all right, Dave. We all love you. Dave Fitzgerald, if you didn't know, he is the primary organizer of this event. He is the creator of VirtualMars.com. He was the creator of this virtual iRacing series. Everything has to have an I in front of it. It could be the iRacing iSeries, iVirtual. So, but Dave did create this last spring to try and get some enthusiasm going for the upcoming racing season, and it was so popular that we've decided to keep running it in our off season. I'm glad that I told him no during the primary season, because it is really busy when you are doing race car season and you have a job and a life and a family. Life is busy. Some folks don't have that problem. They're retired. They're professional racers. All that would be, you know, really cool, but just unrealistic. Here is Zach Rubin trying to pass Jeff Jacobs. Not going to happen. And the number 7 Miata here. We have a pretty good spread throughout the track. If we look back on Carter, who's advanced up to 16th, he's trying to get that trophy, I think, from start position to most places advanced. But being in 16th place puts him in 6th overall in the Miatas. We still have about 20 racers racing, I believe. We have 2 who look like they've retired. They could just be serving long pits to repair damage to their cars. But you never know. Mike Kelly chasing down Gary, about 2 seconds behind him. Everybody's slowing down. Forrest now pulling a 142. I don't know what's happened here, but he has definitely come off his pace in the last lap. He is 6 seconds behind his own personal best and is now chasing down Eric Jones, who has picked up the pace a little bit, up to about a 137.8. But that's still a long haul away from Greg, who's consistently running in the 136s. Paul trying to catch up to Kenneth. Looks like we have a 9-second gap or so now. Yep, that's what I'm seeing. It's funny because there's actually an interval column in my spreadsheet, and I do the math in my head 95% of the time. So, that's not impressive. It's stupid because I literally have the numbers just 4 columns over. But yeah, that's what happens when you're trying to do camera management, vocals, pay attention to where the action might be happening. You're just busy. Here's Carter Whedon moving up to 14th place. Carter's really flying now, but so is Ido. He is just on his tail. But yeah, I believe we saw Carter all the way back in 22nd place, maybe, at the beginning of this race. I don't know where he started. I don't know if he just had a bad start and he was farther up in the pack, which I would normally expect from Carter, to be fairly mid to high up in the pack. But, you know, maybe he just doesn't know this track very well and he started in the back, in which case he's doing quite well, advancing good. See here, Dennis trying to chase Ray Phillips. Eric Jones. We missed it, Eric, but we can see what happened. It's going to take him a little while to straighten that out. Greg Obadiah currently in first place. Obadia. Sorry, Greg. It's Obadia. Previous lap, a 137 flat. Still pretty darn good. 0.08 of a second, really 7.75 seconds off of his top lap time, so he's still moving along quite quick. We're getting down to about 5 minutes left in the race. My data is telling me that's 4 laps to go. So we are winding this thing down. The gaps are increasing. We've got about 8.5 seconds between Greg and Forrest, and then 15 seconds until you get to Mike and Gary. But these two have been keeping it close. Definitely battling it out for 3rd place. I think Mike has had the lead most, if not the entire session, over Gary, but I don't even know if they both know they've advanced to a place because Eric is out. Paul's still trying to catch up to Kenneth. Now, though, we have a 11-second gap, so Kenneth is just blowing this track out of the water. He is pretty consistently running about 1.5 to 2 seconds faster than Paul, so I'm not surprised. Our Volkswagens are just well spread out. Travis Trustle's in first. 9 seconds behind him, you've got Dave Fitzgerald. 7 seconds behind him, you've got Louis Alessi. So it is quite a gap here. And I'm going to have to do a little head math, but it looks like you've got about another 5 or 6 seconds until you hit James. So overall, we definitely have some very strong racers here who are really sort of dominating their classes. I mean, it's really great to see folks who can demonstrate this high quality of racing. But it does make it difficult to try to figure out which guy who's winning the race by a mile should I watch. Let's see how Greg handles this lap car. Greg, of course, knowing he can wait until he gets into a situation like that where he can just punch it and get around the other car. But of course, I believe that Miata also had his brake lights on and straight, so I think he was trying to let Greg by, not wanting to interfere with the race. Just like to listen to that Mustang a little bit going down the straight. Dave still trying to catch up to Travis. First is Travis, second is Dave. Nobody in between them, but 11.5 seconds of track. So it's a pretty good gap. At this point, we'd really be expecting Travis to make sort of a serious mistake for Dave to catch up to him. Which is possible. Definitely possible. James also in a similar situation with Lewis. There is only about 4 seconds of track between these guys, but Lewis is currently in third place. James is in fourth. Checking on Carter, he's still running in 14th. It looks like Waxman passed him. Ooh, I didn't hear any contact there, but maybe that was just Carter's very quick reflexes. It looked to me like they almost touched wheels, or maybe Ido gave him a donut. Here comes Eric. I can hear him and see him. Again, with the serious horsepower of those Mustangs. Carter not giving anything up. But Walkman here thinking, you know, I can drift. I can get some drag off this Mustang and maybe get some speed on Carter, which is exactly what he did. And then, ooh, Carter there having to overbrake a little bit, probably wanting to avoid slamming into Waxman on the turn and giving Waxman the place. I hear another Mustang coming. There it goes. It's kind of interesting with mixed class racing to just see these cars flying by. And there's Carter saying, don't slow down too much. I don't know what happened to the feed there, folks. I was still here, but my screen was black. So it looks like Carter is out of the race. Yes, that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. So obviously we don't have 2 laps to go. My data that this thing is pulling is wrong. This should be our last lap as we come around here, according to the race time. Unless there is a minimum amount of laps and a time, in which case there could be, but no. I believe this will be the end of the race as Greg here, Greg Obadia crosses the finish line. Yes, that was the finish to our race. So even though all my data was telling me otherwise, I knew it was over. In that case, we should be proud. So we have in the Mustangs, Greg finishing first, Forrest finishing second, Mike Kelly finishing third, and Gary Shank finishing fourth. Then you have Ken, first place in the Miatas, and Paul, who's coming in second. Zach Rubin, by the way, third place in those Miatas. Travis Trussell first in the Volkswagen. Dave Fitzgerald's going to take second. Looks like Louis Alessi, who's right behind Zach, our third place Miata, is going to take third. And James is going to take fourth. Don't see much changing with that anytime soon. Go ahead and watch these guys finish out. So, yeah, so Carter and Ido did drop out there. They both did. So I'm curious as to what happened. Because they got lapped, if they lost a lap or what. But Carter's finishing in 19th place. So it's very interesting. I don't quite know what happened there. But they definitely didn't finish the race. Anyways, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull up the results. And we could sort of see all the cars by class. Now all the racers have crossed the finish line. Greg Obadia in first, Forrest Landry in second, Mike Kelly in third, Gary Shank in fourth. And then as you see, our two Miatas, Kenneth and Paul in first and second. Then we have Volkswagens, Travis Trussell and Dave Fitzgerald in first and second, Zach Rubin third in the Miata, Louis Alessi third in the Volkswagens. Quite a mix of classes. Quite a mix in the finish of the classes there. Then we have James in 11th overall, Eric in 12th, Ray Phillips in 13th, Jeff Jacobs in 14th, Dennis Barrett in 15th, Francois Brou in 16th, Don Manning in 17th, Carter Whedon in 18th, Ido in 19th, and Mark Wood in 20th, David Graver in 21st, Brian Carwan in 22nd, Usama Talha in 23rd, and I, your announcer, Mike Rude, who did not race, always gets last place. So I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Just a reminder that we are starting up those new awards. There'll be like Facebook awards that you'll see. But we might have some end of season awards, like actual trophies. Quite possibly. It is something that we are seriously talking about. If you want to know more about that, I highly encourage you to email, Facebook, or otherwise pester Dave Fitzgerald for more information, because he, like always, is the man. He's the organizer, and he's pretty serious about this event, and I think he does want to bring trophies into it. So hopefully, I know everybody here is somehow affiliated with SCCA, but maybe we'll actually do an event locally in the Washington, D.C. area. So if you're close, which most of you are, I see most of these folks from Pennsylvania, Virginia, Ohio, Atlantic in general region, which is where we are. I only see a couple folks that might be a little far, like Michigan. But we'll keep you up to date. Of course, we'll fill you in on this feed. There will always be information on virtualmars.com. And please check out WDCR SCCA.org. And I thank you all for coming out tonight, and have a good evening.